This video here contains the best information in the entire world and the universe. And if you don't believe me, you can ask Gaia, Archangel, Raphael, the Lumerians, the dragons, and Source itself. You'll have to watch the video to know exactly what I mean, but you're gonna love it.
So, good morning, Daryl. It's my pleasure to be with you again today.
Hello, Peter. It's always a great pleasure and great amount of fun.
Yeah, you are amongst my clients I work with. Yours are always the most trippiest because you are, it's not like you show up with a lot of densities to clear. It's like you show up with this field and this contacts and these energies and these beings, and it's like a most fantastic maze puzzle to kind of navigate through that and interact with you. So, thank you for bringing this to me.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think what you do is terrific, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I just think what you and Tracy do is terrific. So with that, I have a set of questions, and I want you to bring in all my spirit guides and all the related friends, and we're going to have a very big party here, so to speak, a party of knowledge. And what I want you to do is for my questions, I want you to verify, correct, and or elaborate on any of the issues that I bring up. And it's any one of them that wants to step forward, they are welcome to. And we're just gonna just kind of take a deep dive into esoteric questions and knowledges.
Sounds good. It's like, uh, you know, the topics you bring up are usually outside of my everyday understanding and stuff. So it really forces me to be a clear channel. Like, because I don't know about this stuff. This is new to me too. So I'm excited to see what comes through, and thank you for your trust.
And that's why I love it so much, Peter, is because I know what you're getting through is you're getting it through the other side, because the stuff that I bring up is so esoteric that no human on earth really knows about it. So I just love the fact that you, by answering it, verifies it, because there's no human that goes where I go.
Yeah, I know it's an adventure. All right, let's dive in.
Okay. Um, all right. So I understand this is my very first incarnation, and that I'm very old soul, that I'm actually 13.85 billion years in one of the first original consciousness that kind of stepped out during the initial great Big Bang of the universe, and that this is actually my first incarnation on Earth, and that um, in this incarnation, I have come here during this specific time of um, the age of Aquarius, because there is a very important transition on Earth right now. And the transition on Earth is that a lot of us galactic beings have incarnated on Earth, um, and we're here for a purpose, and that is to help humanity raise to the fourth density. That's been attempted in various harvests throughout time, but this is going to be the biggest harvest for humanity in the whole history of the humanoids. And beings like myself have incarnated on Earth right now to help this process. And by the way, even though this is my first incarnation on Earth, I've learned that I have now made past and future incarnations on Earth, because I like this particular one that I'm vacationing on right now so much that I've now made past lives on Earth and future lives on Earth. But we're not going to get into that right now. We're just going to stay here and focus on this particular life. So in this particular life, because we're in the time of Aquarius, what became clear to me is that a lot of us are here to do grid work. We are here to basically, I define grit work as anchor in love and light and go to a site that is a sacred site, because a sacred site is a point on Gaia that has energy portals and stuff like that. And sacred sites have had temples and physical structures that emphasize the energy, so that I think myself and people throughout the world are having a calling to do grid work, to go to these sacred sites in order to anchor love and high energy frequencies so that we can connect the grid that is around Earth. The grid around Earth was pre-set up so that individuals like us can go there and anchor in love so that we can connect a network of energy around the world to basically use that to power humanity to raise to the fourth density. So does anyone want to step forward and verify, correct, and or elaborate on what I just said about grid work?
Okay. So first, this is Peter talking, and I just want to say something before I get to the answer of your question. Uh, a while ago, I was introduced to a teacher online called Analia Benz, and she struck me as very unique and interesting because she claimed that she had never been incarnated as a soul before, and then, or as a physical human body before. And then she said, and oh, I'm not the only one. There are about 10,000 of us on the planet who were called forth to do this. And so, listening to you talk, I realized, wow, I'm getting to talk to actually one of the first timers here who have to come in from the cosmos. And this is important to me, Peter, because I've always known the sense of what's called avatar. And that is when the group consciousness prays for something like ascension, then the divine answers with individuals show up to give it to us. So, literally, you are the avatar, the human form of this, and from your lineage with the Dragon Collective and where you've other places you've been with your soul. It's kind of exciting to be with you. So I just wanted to say that, wow, I got to meet one. All right.
Yeah.
So now let me just get into answering your question. Okay. Wow. This is from Source itself, and usually Source doesn't channel, or usually I don't channel directly from Source. So I'm going to do the best I can because the frequency is way up there. Okay. So
Okay.
this is Source itself. Uh, Okay, so we need to raise the vibration of the discussion because when you were talking about the nulls and nodes, as they are sometimes referred to by different channelers, which are the places where the energy grids connect, Peter can only think of G spots and other places in your body where you're super sensitive because there's a lot of energy receptors there. And this is a correct analogy, but we don't want to debase it like Peter was doing. So, what we wish to tell you is that the way the planet Earth was set up was that it was to be an amplification resonator of the energies of humanity in conjunction to spirit. Now, you in your own body understand this with your chakra system. And that is how these different energy lines are. And there are different things that are called nadis in the Eastern tradition, and those are, if you trace the lines between the energy centers, then where they cross and everything creates these other points of energy. And it's all basically how the grid work is woven within your body. Now, Earth was set up to do this in a way that it would be a whole field, not just an individual whole field, because Gaia contains the planetary of humanity. She's a very vital part in what is going on, but she also contains the consciousness of all the other species that live here. It is not just humanity that is
Mhm. Right.
experiencing it. Uh, you can go down to plants, you can go down to insects, you can go down to, or you can go up to dimensional beings. Up and down are not correct, but they're the way Peter understands it. You can go up to dimensional beings, and they are part of all this too. And you are correct in your assessment of that this is the massive time that happened. Two things of note here. This is humanity's fifth attempt on planet Earth to get it just right, where you can make this evolution, and the evolution is from who we understand ourselves to be in 3D to embodied mastermind. In the past, it was always that souls would ascend, and you would see this in your literature. Great beings would rise up into the heavens, and it would happen one or two people every few thousand
Right.
years.
It was a small harvest. This time it's
Yes.
going to be a big harvest.
And what makes this important is that this is going to be planetary, not that everyone will go. Some people will choose not to. Some people will fight it. Some people are just unaware of it. But the majority, vast majority, will be part of what you are calling the harvest. Peter rebels at that term because of his own background, but it is a very correct term in that we're making this transition. What is important is that this transition demonstrates to the rest of the universe that this can be done quickly at once. Quickly
Exactly.
span is over several hundred of your years, but that is still nothing compared to you as a soul with your billions of years on the existence. Uh, so this is going to create a new energetic blueprint, which then every other planet that chooses to go this route will be there. And then all of, just as you are the ambassador from your collective in the heavens to Earth, galactic ambassador, you call yourself, those of us who are part of this harvest, as you say, will become ambassadors for the next wave that comes through and the other
Correct.
planets and densities. Now, understanding that, let us apply this specifically to the grid. There's a change undergoing at the grid level, and that change is that the grid was set up to create and foster a community of humans and other species on the planet that can live and evolve. And you understand your evolution quite nicely as your scientists explain it. You don't understand all of it, but you understand that animals grow and change. And part of you are understanding through, what do they call it? What is the word? What is the word? Peter knows it, but he's trying to make the link. Uh, when you can have it's not spontaneous generation, but where you can actually evolve within a lifetime. Some of your scientists are actually talking about that, where you can evolve in real time, and they're physically showing this is possible. Uh, we understand that what has been. There had to be an energy framework that set that up. Now there is a new energy framework that is going to take place, which is going to be the transitional framework, and it is not even the finished point. It is going to be a step into what will be eventually the grid work of an ascended planet, the energetics of that. And that's going to be part of it is just going to be connections between individuals, but part of it is held within Gaia. Many people do not understand that Gaia is both its own separate entity and the collective consciousness of all of who inhabit her. So all of
Yes.
humanity is part of Gaia and
Hmm.
part of her consciousness. Many people do not understand that yet. So for Gaia to make this change, she has to now have an energy pattern that is conducive and holding to the energy of the humanity that is coming as it takes these steps. You can consider this analogy to an analogy of a child as it grows. It first has a little cute onesie, and then it has a bigger set of clothes, then a bigger set of clothes, then finally it gets to a big set of clothes, and then finally it starts to choose its own fashion and design because it's old enough and have enough wisdom to decide how it wants to dress. These are the progress you understand with children. Now, if you could see this with a planet, and instead of using the analogy of clothing, use the analogy of grid work, energy work, then you understand what it is that you are here to do. Now, you know this, but we want to say this to everyone who to yourself as confirmation to everyone who can benefit from this interaction between us. We want to say that your presence here alone is a generator. You are your own living, breathing, walking, mobile node, for lack of a better word, of energetics. This is what it meant when Peter earlier said that there were about 10,000 or so souls who incarnated for the first time simply to hold this energy. You see, we all generate fields. Every human on the planet generates fields, but their fields are not quite as big because they have many lifetimes of working to be smaller, all their karma, as it is called popularly. It's not exactly karma, but that's what it was. Choices made to get smaller and smaller. So they do not have as much of a vibrational effect, which is why coming in fresh, you can have more of that vibrational effect. Also, most of the people are focused on this lifetime practicality. You call it 3D stuff in your conversations, but most people do not see beyond their job or maybe getting drunk on Saturday night or something like that. Uh, and so they are not holding that vibrational pattern that you're holding. So just by walking and being on the planet, you create a shift. And many people are understanding that as they start to evolve and embrace the evolution that is present by working with the grid work, they too become these generators, and that is going to
Right.
form a new grid. But that grid is not the grid of the planet. That grid is around the grid of the planet. So it's more like the layer that we interact with. It is not the base layer that you walk upon that is the root. So let us speak to this base layer. And this is where you are understanding correctly that because you know your mission here on the planet, you know that it involves setting up a new pattern as the clothes change. It's a new level of how to interact. And that interaction in the past, you have seen this in, for example, you could walk across the ground of a battlefield and you can feel all the tragedy and trauma and energy that is there. And many people have done release work on battlefields and other places where densities were stored. And so you understand that what was built previously was built as almost a memory system, a system that would take what had transpired in the area and hold it in resonance so that it can be there for the collective to experience. And that was what led compound upon compound upon compound to what you call the Dark Ages and the Iron Age, as sometimes it is called, where it was just difficult for humanity to do much of anything, and there was not much hope on the planet. That was when Gaia was ready to say, I'm done with this experiment, and wanted to actually leave. But fortunately, she is with us, and we are able to support her in ways that are good for her, and as well as the rest of the galactics like yourself and all the other collectives. So we are so, so happy to have this relationship now. But that was how dense it had to get in order to catalyze the shift of the all at onceness that is going now, which will be the new blueprint for a harvest in the future. It was a tough road to bear, and it was a sacrifice that Gaia made, but that is a testament to her character and her will and her strength. Now, what is going on with the grid work for you at this moment is that you are realigning the connections. It'll be less about remembering what was there and holding it, and more about bridging. And so that means that new connections will be in place, just like in your body. It'll be like new nadis will be going from energy center to energy center. Many people are aware that DNA is being activated within the body, and
Mhm.
there are 12 strands actually there, but most of them are not energetically activated yet. Some of them are coming online, and people are starting to notice skills and abilities they didn't have. And that's going to be showing up in your biology sooner rather than later. As far as scientists talking about more than just two strands of DNA. So, what you are doing with the grid work is you are weaving in these new strands into the planet. And this
Mhm.
means moving some of the old strands, not so much. Some of them will move and shift. For the most part, they're going to stay where it's there, but you're going to weave between them in different ways, which will then create new nodes, new null areas, new grid points that are super sensitive to the energies coming through. And the amount of energy coming through these new points will then start to supersede what were the traditional points of power you know. So, this is why in your journeys you will start out in what have been traditionally sacred places, because that is where you're starting to make the weave from to the other places. And then you will be going to places sometimes based on the need of the area because it's dense, sometimes based on the favorability of how the lines can cross so that it can create an energetic grid. The result will be there will be a new grid as the new humanity arises. Does this answer your question?
Yes, it does. And I'll quickly touch on some topics and then go to my next question. But I just want to confirm that I downloaded exactly everything you said. I do want to also add that this experiment is really about Gaia, and that the shifting of humanity is because Gaia has shifted, and that humans, the humanity is shifting along with her because Gaia has shifted in density, and that it is a big experiment that the whole universe is looking at us, but it's looking at Gaia too. Gaia has also shifted down and shifted up. So yes, while they are looking at the humans, this is also an experiment on Gaia that everyone's looking at Gaia. Gaia is such a special entity and being to participate on the experiment on her end that we just owe her a whole bunch of thanks and love and all that stuff. But yes,
She's
so
Gaia's
everyone in the
showing you the
universe is
image right
looking
now,
at this.
Daryl. Guy's showing me the image right now of a demure Southern belle with a fan up going, "Oh, you're recognizing this." So she's totally happy, but she's playing the coy role. Thank
Oh,
you.
she's beautiful. I know what she did, and I just have gratitude and love from my heart for her. And so and we're gonna make it. I mean, she knows that we're gonna make it, but I know what she went through, and I just have such gratitude in my heart for her. So that being said, everything that you said about grit work, I downloaded and got. So I would like to dwell in a little deeper here in that what can we as humans do to increase our efficiency or efficacy in doing grit work? And by the way, the grit work is not just to do grit work on Earth, but we're also releasing codes to people that we're meeting along the world, and those codes are creating a grit work with humans, so to speak, right? So that's lots of being awesome. But grit work on Earth, what can we do to anchor our love and energy into the sacred spots? And I also understand that wherever we go will become a sacred spot, right? If we anchor in love any place on earth, we're making it a sacred site. We're connecting, making new points for the grid. So what can we do on a practical sense to do that? I kind of get that wherever I go, I just follow my intuition. I just follow um, my sense of having an open heart and loving the land and people and just seeing what comes to me. So sometimes that might be doing hand mudras on the spot. Sometimes it could be doing light language. Sometimes it could be just sitting there and meditating and just shooting out love. Um, Sometimes it could be playing around with crystals. And then we're probably going to talk about Lemurian crystals too. But so there's a whole, or doing oils and scents in order to anchor down that feeling of love and togetherness. So, are there any practical tips that anyone can give me and humans for doing grit work?
Yeah. So, uh, Archangel Gabriel would like to talk, and this is a
Okay.
first for me because I know him and I've conversed with him, but I've never really channeled Gabriel. Usually it's
Excellent.
Michael who comes through. So Gabriel's at this one, so here we go, okay?
Okay.
First, we wish to say, Daryl, it is nice to speak to you in a voice. You interact with the angelic realm. They are not your primary interactions, but you are aware of them and we enjoy the interaction. And we just want to say that to you that we adore you and what you are doing. The reason I am stepping forward to speak and the reason the angelic realm that I am representing is here is that we, for a long time, have been energy keepers. We do not operate in the physicality that you operate in, but we can appear to you and we've helped you in so many ways. And what no one understood is that we were the energetic weavers, holding much of the energy that is in your grid and at times even placing the grid. The grid was not something that was formed uh, by us. The grid was a conscious collective decision, both by Gaia, by all the collectives who have an investment in humanity, which includes humanity itself, of course, and your dragon lineage, the seeders who were physically before us, like the Pleiadians, the other planets who seeded them, like the
Yes.
Syrians, and of course, the angelic realm. Now,
Hmm.
the involvement of the angelic realm, for those of you who do not know, is that we do not have the physicality and the body essence that you here on Earth have. And our interest in this experiment on Earth was that if you can succeed at this, you will give opening to us to have the embodiment function. We have joy and bliss like you do not know, but we do not have experiences of intensity with that joy and bliss like you do know when you do something exhilarating, compete in a sports event, or dance your heart out till you're tired, or go parachuting. These are things you do that give you exhilaration that are beyond what we in the angelic collective experience because of your density, your practicality. You on Earth are making the experiment of, can we bring this physicality and the ability to express in these intense ways to the higher dimensions? And once you open this door up, it helps everybody, us and all the other collectives. Now, we just want to introduce that so you understand why we have this interest here and why I'm asking you about the specifics of the grid work. Now, there is no longer the correct procedure. That was a function of 3D, and as you're moving into the higher densities, there's no longer the correct procedure. There's only the procedure that works, and that procedure is unique to each individual. And what you have the ability to do, Daryl, is that you spontaneously allow, in essence, you connect to what is around you, and you use that unconscious portion of your brain that is already in the expansive field to come up with the movement or the sound or whatever it is that takes. So you already understand this. Those of you that you're teaching and are working with, you can show them, but if you just show them and they duplicate it and they replicate it, it'll be fine. But then someone will write a great book, and then it'll be the Bible, the Testament of Daryl or whatever it is, the Gospel of Daryl. And people will do it, and over time it will be removed from what is the reality. And so that's where humanity needs to know, and you already know this, but this should be included in your teachings, is that the guidance is from within when you are connected to
Yeah.
it. And what is most important, Peter uses the phrase consciousness is king, consciousness is queen. So your intent then becomes the reflection of that consciousness. So your consciousness moves in with the idea that this is what we're going to create. And then you focus your intent, and you do that whatever way it works for you. Some people sit quietly and just focus. It can be more mental than anything else. Some people are more physical with a mudra, a song, a dance. It doesn't matter. Your intent is the creator. All right. Now, what is key here is noting that the intent of the grid work is in alignment not only with the grand plan, which you hold inside you, everybody on the planet holds it because you were a part of creating it, uh, but it is your own unique contribution to how that grand plan looks and feels like. So you do it in whatever way that is right for you, but you hold it in the most beautiful way, uh, that you hold it in the most beautiful way that is allowing your intent to create. Now, earlier this morning, Peter had a discussion with his wife on something that she had read from something you had wrote about someone who was in your sphere, and we wish to express this now because it is quite critical and important. Uh, and that is that where you were living, people would often say things like, "I'm grateful that storm didn't hit," or "I'm so glad that that the tide from the waves kept the beach intact." All right,
Mhm.
and what it is you are people who come from that type of gratitude expression have built a cancellation into their expression and their intent and their power. They are grateful for something that didn't happen rather than something that did happen. And the key is, as you lay the new grid work, is to focus on what you desire and you bring that into it. And that is that, most people come from the fear base of, "Oh, I'm safe now, the storm didn't hit me." And that will then put in fear into the grid work.
Yes.
All right. So it's much more important to say, "Oh, I am safe. And my safety looks like freedom to move about. My safety looks like
Yes.
freedom to enjoy weather. My safety looks like whatever it is you want it to look like." And then that gets placed in the grid work. Now, you correctly said that you know that you just affect people as you move around. That was the intent of you and all the others who first time incarnate on Earth to be here. Now, more importantly than that is that you and other people, as they raise their consciousness, those who are of the earth lineage more than just than one time, as you raise your consciousness, the metaphor Peter was taught, and we will give you this metaphor because he can relate to it in his words. And the metaphor is, where a master walks, flowers grow in their footprints. Okay.
Beautiful.
And so that is actually what you are doing. So it's not so much the particular way to walk. What is the joke? He's making us tell a joke, and that joke is walk this way. It's not the way, it's not the way you walk. Okay. It is the idea that you are walking with the grace of holding your desire, which is your unique contribution. Most people do not understand that they would not be on planet Earth now if they did not harmonize and resonate with the shift that was coming. Okay. And that they're a vital part of it. And that vital part is your unique desire. So maybe you want a wave that breaks both ways. Maybe you want 3 waves in a row. Maybe you
Yeah,
want a wave that's going to come up and make this dip so you can surf on it. Doesn't matter what you want. That is your unique contribution, and you're going to express that. You're just going to be aware that you're going to be focusing on what you want. And as you do that, then flowers will grow in your footsteps.
perfect. Yeah, I agree that intention is king, but I always go by the power of my intention is my joy. In that, the more I find happiness and joy in it, the more powerful my intention is. Joy
Right
is
on.
like an intent. It's like an
Right on.
antenna for your intention. So if you can have the most positive intention, but if you're in a sad place, that positive intention is going nowhere. But if you have a positive intention and you have joy, you have now shot up that intention, to be very, very powerful.
Yeah. So this is Peter talking, but Gabriel's confirming this, and he wants me to add in there that I was at a presentation once, and this lady said, there are people who can measure emotional vibrations. And so they actually measure the frequency of them. So what do you think the highest vibration is? And everybody said love. And he goes, nope, gratitude. And
Yeah.
what is gratitude that I understand is what you just said, joy, right? The biggest thing is not saying, oh, thank you. The biggest thing is, like, for instance, if you give a gift to a child, you see they're happy playing with it. That then propels it. So now what people are learning to do, and what you are teaching and what you are doing through your grid work, is you're saying, okay, now can we have the gratitude and the joy before the gift is given? In which case you live that life, and that becomes your life, or the analogy of the footprints. Okay. And then of course the presents show up. So that's I just want to confirm that. And Gabriel wanted to confirm what you were saying, and this is how I understand it.
Yes. Beautiful. Okay. Um, I'm not going to get too much into the history of this, but there has been a time where Earth's grid, the loving grid that we're putting back up or connecting now, kind of went down, and there was also another grid that was put upon it that was more of a lower vibration grid. So I hear that lower vibration grid came down so that now we can put back up this really heartfelt uniting us into the fourth density grid. And I have kind of thoughts that this is tied back to the age of Lemuria. Uh, and without going into the history of Lemuria and then the subsequent history of Atlantis, which then brings us now to the age of Aquarius, let's just say that Lemurian society had its rise and fall. There was a lot of female energy. It was based off female energy, and it had its rise and fall. And then Atlantis had its rise and fall, but there was too much male energy, logic, dominance, control, and then it fell. And now's the time of Aquarius where we bounce the male and female energy, which is the beautiful part of the Age of Aquarius, which is now the grid that we're uniting. Um, does anyone want to say anything about that? Is that accurate? Did that happen? Or can you correct, verify, or elaborate on that?
Okay.
It's a little
So
bit of a history question, I guess.
it is, and it's new to me. Okay. And so my sacred higher self, my soul, would like to answer, because I
Okay.
was present in Lumerian times.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wants to answer from that point of view. Uh yeah. All right, let me get this. Okay. So first of all, there's no accident that the word Lumeria and Illuminati both share the loom in it. And
Yeah.
you are correct in the idea of the feminine time and the masculine time, although that doesn't capture the entire essence of what was going on. These were basically tweaks on the scale of, do you turn the dial more towards connected to source, in which case you don't get as much change in the world? Do you turn the dial back the other way, less connected to source, and then you get a lot of change? And so now trying to find the balance of where that dial is, and it can be expressed in male and female, although that is not, if you just look at it as the sexuality and the humanity duality, it is not capturing the whole essence of it, but it is a correct explanation of it. Now,
Yes.
the going back to your analogy of the female uh, there, so women love to connect in groups. It is just part of their nature, it's part of their, and we see,
Intuition,
yeah,
nature, kind of that softness and that female energy.
they express that in what people who have disparaged them call covens. All right. Now, what happened in the time of Lemuria was that this was a time of great power
Hmm?
to be able to manifest from spirit rather than in the Atlantean times where it was to manifest through your knowledge and your science and things like that.
Correct, correct,
Both had powerful manifestations,
correct.
but this was from within. Now,
Yeah, I call it spiritual technology versus Atlanteans had logic technology.
right, right. Now, Lemuria was also humanity's third go. And
Correct,
there
correct.
were times before it where there were still
There were two
unexpressed,
other times, and I
yeah,
downloaded them. But
yeah.
yes, go ahead.
There were
Yeah.
times before it where there were unexpressed densities. And that
Uh-huh.
was the fear mostly of, I can't do this, or I can do it and I'm afraid to do it. And look, I tried doing it and I created something I didn't want. And rather than say I mastered creation and I just got to get better at creating, people would say, oh, I'm a bad creator, all that stuff. So this was underlaid in in the uh, in the collective of Lemuria, and that's what they were working on releasing. And what happened was that many times they did not get to the cause, and they were doing their spiritual manifestation with great power, and yet it was then propelled by fear or by shame of a previous thing, and that created what you would call the lower negative grid. And this created the seed work for what became the Illuminati, where people understood they can use magic and power to actually lower grids. Let's create a whole system where we're, what Peter calls it, debt, debt slavery and what you live now
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that was comes back actually from the Lumerian time. And that was when the grid was lowered intentionally by practitioners who understood
Ah.
they had power, but were coming from their own places of fear and lack that they could not see past. So that was all they saw. So they thought that they were doing protection and control. Now, over time, it then became where they just became psychopathic by your standards, where they just said, "Oh, we're a superior species.
Oh,
We know how to
yeah.
manipulate. They're stupid. They're dumb. So it doesn't matter what happens to them." And
Yeah.
that's where we've got the whole system that we're coming out of now. And that was the
Yep.
lowest, darkest time.
Correct.
Which we had to see so we can clear all the way back to those previous times
Exactly.
that the Lumerians weren't able to fully
Yeah.
clear. So this was grid was established as you correctly assessed, and it was done with intent to lower, but not lower in the sense of just turning the vibration down, but to lower in the sense of shifting so that those who thought they were superior, the Illuminati, which came from those
Mhm.
covens that were not feeling like they were fully connected, okay, that they could then assert their dominance and superiority. This still exists to this day.
Correct.
You see
Correct.
this in all your political families.
Correct. But we're bringing it down now during the Age of Aquarius. It's coming down now.
It cannot exist with the new vibration. All
Correct.
right. But you're seeing it play out in your wars and your dramas of news and things. And this is what is changing. And it is so beautiful to understand. So, yes, you are correct in your assessment. And we just wanted to supply the understanding of what was motivating it then and why what you call grid work now when it is interesting too, because Peter in his work, what he will do is work with an individual, and his wife Tracy will work with an individual to release a density that they're holding, which is the same densities that the collective was holding. Okay. And what will happen is they will automatically experience new energies and new insights and abilities just come to them. People say, oh, I have to learn to channel. And Peter is always like, no, you have to learn to release. And then the channeling will just happen. Okay. So what is going on in those individuals is what is going on in the collective right now. You understand that this is what's going on in the collective, and your role, and you are doing so beautifully, and we wish to say thank you for that, is to then do the grid work so that it can amplify so that more people can move into that space where they can move, allow the energies that were holding them back to leave. So we no longer have to suffer from what was dense from that time, which as beautiful as they were and as creative and as powerful they were, it was not all Lumerians. Of course, it was sects within them, groups within them, but they rose to power and dominance, and they were still dominant and powerful to this day, although, as correctly stated, that is waning. Does this help answer your question?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful confirmation. I already got all this, but hearing you say it just confirms what I know. So I love this. Um, and I'm just also going to add that it's partly due to the balancing of the chakras, in that the Lemurians were very, very highly advanced in the top three chakras, and then they really did not balance the bottom three chakras. And then the Atlanteans did the opposite. They focused on the bottom three chakras and not so much the top two. And of course, we got to take the heart chakra to bridge the two. So there was unbalance in both civilizations, and now we're here to really balance it with our heart chakra, and that's gonna what unite the energy. But everything you said, I just love. Uh,
This is Peter talking here. I just want to add this to say this. The first time I went to Bali, I thought it was just amazing that they made you put a little sacred belt on before you go into a temple to separate the clean upper half of your body from the unclean lower half. And so that's exactly how it's been, and it's been codified in their religion there. And now
yeah.
you, so I just love what you're saying.
I mean, to me, it's like all common sense. It's like, of course it is. It completely makes sense. But I love hearing you guys give verification on it, because it's like, to me, it's like, why doesn't everyone know this? It completely makes logic. Um, but I want to talk a little bit on Lemurian crystals, since we talked about Lemuria. So when I download, I mean, I love crystals. Crystals, all different types, have all different properties, but Lemurian crystals are special. I get that Lemurian crystals have the essence of knowledge from the Lemurians that are implanted in the crystals, and that in a way the crystals are like computer thumb drives. By absorbing the information in the crystal, you can absorb a lot of spiritual technology in a crystal, or it activates our memory of it. It activates. So can someone step forward and talk about the effects and the properties, the beneficial properties of the Lumerian crystals?
Okay, so this is just Peter talking, although this came to me before you asked your question. Okay. So
Okay.
I'm gonna give you this answer, and I'm not sure who it's from. It's just from the field, okay? And
Okay.
then I'm gonna go see if somebody individually wants to channel about it, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And so that is that what makes the Lumerian crystal special is that uh the Lumerians understood the technology of infusing their consciousnness into
Mhm.
a crystal.
That's
Now,
what I've been saying.
yeah. And so, first of all, everything's conscious. Crystals are conscious. And so they're conscious
Hmm.
in the sense that they are built with the design, intent plus energy, consciousness plus energy determines the nature of reality. So they're built with the consciousness, the intent of being what you said, transformers, activators. We use them in everything in our technology today. We use it to
Hmm.
amplify energy, to store information. We use it to do lots of it. Now, we even use it to count time. Okay. So the Lemurians understood that they can put their consciousness in a crystal. Now, this is
Right.
not just all a good thing. There are examples of those who would not process what was going on in their physicality, and they became denser and denser and denser. And then literally some of them transformed into a crystal. You see this in the Western Bible where they talk about the pillar of salt curse and that kind of stuff.
Oh,
It wasn't,
okay.
it wasn't like an action of a curse of God, but it was like they would just refuse to express and express, and they became so dense and they became crystalline. So some crystals, not many, but some will be kind of yucky.
Okay. Good to know.
All right. Now, but for the majority of the Lumerian crystals, that means that somebody actively, with their intent, and most for a part, a beautiful intent, was putting information there. And you see this. There is a person, Todd Olavitsky, I think his name is, and he does what he calls the Lumerian choir. And he gets together with a group of people and he remembers songs that they used to sing healing, and he would teach them all these songs. And so you'd have 100, 200 people singing in Lumerian. And it was, when I participated in one, it was like doing drugs for 3 days. I was just like, oh, from the energy field. Okay. And so what he's doing, he's accessing that knowledge. Now, it's not just the knowledge of remembering, it's spirits telling me that it is the knowledge that was specifically given there. And some of that was information for this time. Time and space doesn't work the same way in 3D like we know it does here in our regular reality. All the collectives interested in Earth have been present for all the incarnations, and they knew that certain things had to be seeded at certain times that we were ready for it to be released. I believe the channel Cryon speaks of the activations of nulls and nodes, which is a resetting of the grid. And he, in his channel, speaks directly of there were things that were in place which are going to unlock now, which were to ensure that we weren't going to get set back by that Illuminati group because
Yeah.
they did that, been there, done that. So now
Yep.
they put this in there, and also other things that you are personally doing, Spirit is confirming, to unlock these aspects of the grid that are taking place. Part of that will be within crystals, and you will know when you're in the presence of this because it will not be your normal feeling. It'll, if you pick up one of these crystals, several things will happen. You'll get the normal energetics, of course, but you'll also get a sense of remembering. You're like, where'd that come from? All right. You'll also get part of the pattern that's been laid in there, as you say, the data storage that's been laid in there. It'll start to affect you unconsciously. And so you'll just start to there, and it's like, what's going on? And so those who are aware will notice those two subtle differences besides the energetic power. They'll get a sense of remembering, and they'll start to say, oh, something's happening in me, and they'll want to activate in a certain way or act a certain way. In other words, the program has been downloaded. Uh, Now, for most people, Spirit is telling me, for most people, these crystals will not be an all or nothing download. What'll happen is that you'll touch them, you'll get whatever you get, and it'll be there as a seed, and it'll germinate at the time that it is ready for you to understand the information. So if you can imagine a program that unlocks, it's like when you play video games, you get to a certain level and it unlocks super secret levels. That's how it's going to be with this information.
The
And so,
perfect timing and perfect amount will be released to the individual.
yes, yes, that's in the design of the crystalline structures that you're
Yes.
talking about. Where to find these? Where to find these?
Well,
I
they'll
don't,
find you. They'll
okay.
find you.
Yeah, because I'm picking up the information that there's going to be some kind of connection taking place, but it's not clear to me how. But you obviously know they'll find you. But that was what was coming to me somehow. These were going to come show up, so they will find you. Now it's kind of interesting. This is Peter talking now. I'm not back in the field. I've got several friends who call themselves stone keepers, and there's a guy they work with who brings different stones, most of them from off planet, but not all of them. And they contain different energies. And so he gets together and he doesn't want them talking about it, but I've witnessed them do it. So I'm talking about it. Too bad. And I know I'm feeling a pang of, but I'm doing it anyway. Okay. And so I witnessed them put them into certain figurations, right? And then they will feel called. I need to go here. I need to go there. And so they'll basically plant them down and then let whatever's in the crystal go into the grid from that point. So, you're not the only one doing this kind of thing, and not just Lemurian crystals
Yeah.
that are out there doing it, but there's a lot of help from a lot of sources with the stone keepers, and I'm guessing at least half dozen other different people and groups.
Yes. Yes. Tangent to this topic of Lemurian crystals is actually dragons. And that is because dragons were a key part of Lemuria. That's before when Lemuria went down, is when hear that the dragon energy went down, that the dragons went down into hibernation, so to speak. I've heard that they are partners with the the when Lemuria went down, the dragons went down around that time frame, and now with the increase of spiritual technology from Lemurian times is also the blooming of dragons into our consciousness and coming back to the earth into our dimension. So does anyone want to step? It's going to be the dragons, of course, who want to talk about their partnership in Lemuria and how they're coming forth to this age of Aquarius, how they are blooming now, and how Machu Picchu, where I'm going there to do a sacred site, how that is like a home of the dragons, the new capital of the dragons, and the dragon energy is coming to Gaia right now, and it's for this whole ascension process. So let's hear the dragons.
Okay. So this is the Dragon Collective. Daryl, we were waiting for you to get to us. You know better than to put us last on the list. We're dragons. They just want to joke with you and say that. So, yes, and a little bit of minor correction.
Okay.
So, the Age of Dragons was actually in the goes before the first and second ages of humanity, was when we were most prevalent. By the third age, we had pulled back, and only
Right.
those with the
Mhm.
consciousness and understanding to see us and interact with us were having availability of our connection and wisdom. And these were very powerful individuals at their time, in that they were seen as dragon masters because they can bring forth this energy. But we were not as commonplace as we were in the first and second
Sure.
ages of humanity. Now,
Gotcha.
in this third age, those of us, those entities of power who were Lemurians and had their connection, they would call them their familiars, but we like to look at it the other way. They were our familiars. Uh,
I agree.
okay, yeah, I love chanting dragons because they're truly dragons. All right, so anyway, back to the dragons. So in that third age in the Lemurians, those who had the connection were seen as entities of power, and this was fearful to many of the people who were getting disconnected. Earlier, we talked about how the density and some of them would refuse to deal with what's going on with their fear, and we as dragons would show them that fear because we don't mess around. We just present and it all comes forward. And so we were despised. And this is when it started to have the legends of the dragons as being evil and hoarding and controlling. And what we were hoarding and controlling by their point of view was knowledge and wisdom and power. They
Mhm.
had access to it, but they were not able to process it because they were holding their fear density, which kept that away from them. Uh, and this then got written in lore because you couldn't write down wisdom and power, although it's always dragons are the wisest in all the literature that still is
Agree.
alive today. Uh, but so it got down as hoarding treasure. And that's the reason why it was explained as that. Now, what our purpose was to show humanity what it can become when it has no doubt, when it has no fear, when it has no shame. Now, this riles so many people. Oh, I must be humble and this and that. And yes, you must be. And can you be a person of power in your humility?
Yes.
That's when you bring the dragon energy in. Okay. Because, Peter always says you are a fractal of source. You've got God within you. You look
Right.
in a mirror, you're looking at God. All right. That's what dragons see. All right. And that's what we want you to see. And that's what our message has always been, was to bring this power forward. Now you understand that this is the time of ascension, your age of Aquarius, the fifth go of
Mhm.
humanity. And this is the time when that will blossom, where we will all be God beings and know we are God beings. And Peter always tells the joke with his friends. What happens when two wizards play poker? Right?
Yeah.
What kind of game is going to be that? We want to ask a bigger question. What happens when a whole planet is full of wizards and they play creation? And that is what we're heading into in the golden age. And that is what will happen is indeed a golden age, because to maintain the power of a wizard, those who understood the what you would call dark arts, as was expressed earlier about the Illuminati, who misinterpreted and then used the energies of for power and control, their energy is no longer resident. So now it's only light arts, and now it is a whole planet full. And that is what is going on with humanity, and that is where the Dragon Collective can help. Now, Machu Picchu. In all your myths and writings and wisdoms and stories of dragons, they're always high in the mountains, right?
Hmm.
Where is
Yeah,
Machu?
correct.
Where is Machu Picchu? Among the highest mountains you can be in. Why there?
Perfect.
Well, Lemuria is mostly under your ocean now.
Correct.
So, and the Mayans knew, actually not the Mayans, the Inca,
Incas,
the
isn't
Inca,
yeah.
the Inca knew this. They knew that this was a place of power just because of it holds a no a null. No, it holds a node. It holds one of those big cross sections. And they knew that eventually, in when the calendars were rewritten and time was going to be reset, that would be the place where we as dragons would roost, which would make it an even more powerful place. But mostly it's because it's a beautiful setting high in the mountains, and it's sitting on a treasure trove of energetic power, which, of course, what do dragons do? We sit on treasure.
Beautiful. And that's where I'm going in September. I'm going to open some more portals for dragons there. So we're going to have a big party there.
Well, they're telling me now, uh, imagine seeing them, not just energetically, imagine seeing them. And some of you will start to notice that of the corner of your eyes or a flicker, or actually see the energetic bodies. And that will be a sign of movement towards your alignment with that density. So the group you're with, and you especially, uh, do part of your process, your ritual, to allow a moment of seeing them.
I will. I will. I'm going to end this on a very quick question and pertains to dragon. And where one of the very first reading I had from Peter, the dragons came in, and they told me that I'm going to be one of the very few people on Earth that's going to be able to consolidate source energy into my body as a consolidated, like a highly pressured diamond, and I'll be eventually able to use that energy to kind of burp it to people, to give it to people in love, and they said that I will develop that technique as I exist here. And since then, I've been kind of downloading. Okay, how do I do that? How do I do that? So this is what I got so far, and I want the dragons to tell me if I'm on the right track, or for them to give me more hints. But I've been downloading things about um, what I call the Dragon Ball technique, of how you can shoot out energy from your right palm, your chakra in your right palm, and absorb energy from your left palm. I also know about hand mudras, about how every finger is a cosmic element in the universe of creation. Like your thumb is the fire, and then the next one is uh I I forget, it's ether, air, anyhow, I have it, but these are all creations, and how you can use that for the elements of creation of the universe. So I kind of got that for me to consolidate that energy within my body, that I can actually place my hand like on my third eye or my chakra and use that source energy and just condense it within my body, just condense it and focus and have the intention, or put my thumb on my third eye chakra and spread it out through my body. But there are a variety of techniques, but is that the right, am I in a ballpark? Because I kind of pictured that's kind of me taking that energy and condensing it in my body and using dragon techniques, so to speak, in order to help accomplish that. Any helpful hints in that category?
Okay. So let me connect. So you are definitely on the right track. You are starting to intuit through your connection with us. To just review what you already know before we're going to get into what is next. The review of what you already know. You know, a diamond is forged through pressure. Okay, and that's what makes it brilliant, what makes it a crystal, which makes it faceted. And diamonds are the most effective of certain kinds of crystalline energy. You
Correct.
understand this.
Yeah.
Now, you are creating that same kind of pressure internally to do
Mhm.
this. Now, this is important for you to understand. If you look at what is portrayed as the body of a dragon, we have a long neck.
Mhm.
So we have a whole channeling system that can create this compression and then it can come out of us physically, which you earthlings express as breathing fire. Really, not, we could have breathed fire, but really that's not what was going on. We were just having so much energy come out that it was like being blasted by fire. And those who wrote did not have words for they blasted me with crystalline energy. So they wrote they blasted me with fire, all right, breathing fire. Now, humans are not set up with the same anatomy. And so you're correct in understanding that your hands then become the tool that this energy can be focused with. And you know this through your hand mudras and through your placement on the body. Your
Mhm.
placement on the body is correct, although we do want to adjust a little bit on what you showed us for the head movement. You are correct in activating it when you showed where you placed your hands because you know that this connects to all the different elements to get these areas of your brain in place. What we want
Uh-huh.
you to do then is we would like you then to move your hand to the top and then see that as the compression going down along with your hand either at your root or under your sacrum and see the compression going up. So you're correct in activating the energy. You're correct in the mudras build energy. Anybody can simply do this, and we encourage. We know you are going to show this to your adepts. Anybody can simply do this. You just cross your hands in front of yourself up and down, and you feel the vortex there. All right, you are
Mhm.
more sophisticated in your movement of energy, so you're creating different vortices and things. So you're excellent in the creation part. Now we just want to do more of the compression part, and that'll be mostly with intent, but it's either compress it in. Some people tend to bring it like this. Those people who had practiced, what is the practice? The Chinese practice Tai
Tai
Chi,
Chi.
and
Yeah.
they practice big sweeping movements where they bring it up and then they scoop it in, they bring it up and they scoop it in. This is effective, but it is not as effective as what you are doing because you are creating the more intense energies activated within your body. But what you are lacking then is the compression movement. Not that you need a movement, you can do it with intent, but you understand the power of the mudra makes it physical, makes it real and present. So as you
Mhm.
put below your sacrum and above your head after you set up the energies, then put it into those places and see the funnel squeeze down to the apex of the vortex you've created, or not the apex, but the center point of that vortex you've created. And that will empower you even more.
Beautiful. Excellent. I downloaded exactly what you guys said. Makes completely logical sense to me. It's so much fun.
It is kind of cool. It's just even when they had me do this, I'm like, oh, that felt good. How come I'm not doing that all the time?
Yeah. Let me just ask, is there any closing remarks that anyone wants to say?
Yes, this is Gaia.
Love Gaia.
Ah, please do not take offense that we call you son, dear son Daryl. Gosh, we love you. Can any child be more brilliant and happy and joyful? I love all my children, of course. But what I love about you is the enthusiasm and joy you express. You talked about this earlier and how you bring that power because it is the high frequency. You live it. Oh, you don't know what a relief it is to have you on my planet. Can I have another 100,000 million children like you? So thank you so much for teaching that, being that. We love you. How can you just not? You know what it's like to play with a baby and you do whatever you do and the baby giggles and you feel good. And I'm not trying to say you're a baby, Daryl, but I'm just saying you giggle and I feel good. And so thank you, thank you, thank you for that.
Thank you. We all love you and all of you guys. So, just from our heart, just so much gratitude for all of you guys. That was
Well,
great, Peter.
thank you, Daryl. I just need to say, as me, that it's always a trip working with you because I just don't know what's going to happen. And it's way outside my understanding of things. And then you sit there and say stuff, oh, this confirms it, which helps me feel like I know what I'm talking about because I've always, channeling, what, this, that. So it's a trip, and it's a boost to my confidence, and much gratitude on my end, and much appreciation for the service work you're doing. I'm not going to be on the Machu Picchu trip with you, but oh God, it's so exciting that you're doing that. I can't wait for when the energy gets set in so that I can tap into the grid and just, ooh, I got this wave to ride on. So thank you in advance.
All right. This is terrific. Thank you, Peter. You and Tracy are terrific.
All right, stay blessed, brother.
I just want to remind everyone to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment, or write me at ambassadordaryl@gmail.com, and I will add you to my email list where I give away for free write-ups of esoteric information that humanity needs to know.